Hi everybody, my name's Jake Johnson and this is Jake Showcase. Today is March the 7th, 2013, and today marks the third year that I've had of continuous sobriety, and I thought I would shoot a video explaining my how I did it, and I'll follow with some thoughts afterwards. So basically, I've been struggling with alcohol for several years. I've been to several counselors, dozens of counselors. I think I've been to 8 or 9 institutions admitted for alcohol. I've been to hundreds to thousands of AA meetings. I tried basically everything. I read the books. Basically nothing could stop me. Hospital admittances, I didn't even try to count how many times I was admitted to the hospital, either because of an injury or something real bad happening that I had to go to the hospital in regards to drinking. And so the longest period of continuous sobriety prior to myself right now was 1 year, and I did that under the sort of guise that if I got exactly 1 year, I what they call white knuckled it, and I said as soon as 1 year hits, I'm going to drink again. I'm just going to prove that I can do it, and I did it for 1 year, and exactly 1 year, and between both types of years, the two different types of calendars, one second afterwards, I hit the fridge, and I knew I was going to drink again, and I went off again. So, but for me, 3 years is remarkable due to the troubles and difficulties that I've had, and basically I feel like I quit drinking even before I had stopped drinking, which because I feel like I had a sort of a mental breakthrough or an understanding or something happened that I understood. Now, mind you, it was only a couple days before, but I knew that the next time I stopped drinking, that would be it. And I was hair everywhere, just absolute disaster as usual. But it was almost standard protocol for me because I used to drink so much for so long, and I look real tiny, but I can really pound her back, and I go right to the bottom and beyond. Day and night, doesn't matter, and I will basically drink anything, or I would drink anything I could get my hands on. Usually starting with the higher end stuff, and then as my money decreased, I would decrease the products as well, right down to the homeless shelters, and that was my story and my reality. And anyway, I don't want to tell you the horror stories necessarily because there's plenty of those. Rather, I want to tell you what happened after I got sober. So I woke up 3 years ago on today's date, and I had beer in the fridge. I still had beer, and I still had a little bit of money, and I had more money coming. So I knew I had the capacity to continue to drink for a while longer. But I knew that I wasn't going to drink. I knew that today was the day that I wasn't going to drink. And I was in complete tatters. And initially, I had a friend assist me to the hospital on the first day. And I believe I was I think I was having some sort of a spastic convulsion-like symptoms where my body was twitching uncontrollably after I drank some sugar in a coffee, because I hadn't had any other substance for approximately 3 weeks in my body. My body went into shock having anything other than alcohol in my system, and that was sort of the beginning of the withdrawal symptoms. Withdrawal symptoms are very severe. They can cause death at the highest levels of withdrawal, and I've definitely bordered on that. However, they go on for a while. They go on for several weeks. You cannot sleep. It's all standard stuff, and I quite honestly had been through it several times, so I was anticipating it. But the sleeps and the hallucinations, the the voices, all this stuff is very, very real and scary. It's terrifying, in fact. That initial stage is a real challenge for anyone to get through, and it was for me. So that one, this time it took a little bit longer because the emergency room that I had attended had given me some sort of medicine or something, and I believe that medicine actually prolonged my withdrawal symptoms, because it seemed to take a few extra weeks for me to, I think, withdraw off the medication once I had finished the medication for about a week. So initially I did really little. I basically couldn't eat for about 6 days, even after I had stopped. I think I had my first soup and crackers a few days later, and I slowly upgraded. Somebody had given me a card to get sandwiches, and I went and started getting sandwiches every day, and I slowly started to power up. And it took about 5 or 6 weeks, I would say, before any sort of regularity happened. I had this whole concept when I was lying in the bed there that if I died, I couldn't help anybody, and if I died, no matter how nice or how smart or how helpful I could be to people, my body, I had to take care of my body. So my body was important, and because I've always been a little tiny guy, I basically have abandoned my body, not caring about it. And basically from that point, I knew that physicality was going to be a part of my life, and I wanted it to be, but I had no idea what to do, because I was, such a sort of a meek little guy. But my instincts were to go to play basketball. At first, I would just play down by the schoolyard there for a little bit of time, usually by myself. And, I also had an inclination to start playing my guitar, and I would usually play for about an hour a day. I had TV for about a month before they cut that off, because anybody who's into drinking knows that, you're basically putting all your money towards alcohol, and, no bills. You'd be lucky, if you can get your rent paid, or you can hold off the landlord long enough. I know I've been kicked out of a few places, not being able to pay the rent because you drink the rent. And but nonetheless, I was able to slowly get convince people that I was going to get sober again. And that's basically what it is usually, is that you go into sort of like this desperation shock of like, how am I going to make this happen? And you start telling people that you're going to quit, and you go to the rehabs, you go to the counselors to prove it, that you're quitting or that you're serious or whatever it is. But unless you have this sort of internal shift on quitting either alcohol or drugs, it doesn't matter where you go or where you don't go, right? And that's what I found. So basically it took me about a month or two before I got a job, which again was standard for me. I'd always get a job, get a little bit of money, and then start drinking again. And there's a term called the pink cloud of sobriety, which basically refers to, once you start feeling a little bit better, right, you start thinking you could take on the world, and oh yeah, quitting's no problem. And that usually happens after about a month, I would say, sometimes 2 months. It can last up to 6 months that you start feeling like really empowered, really good. Okay, I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna do all the things that I never got to do, and I'm gonna make the world better. I'm gonna go to school, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, and you promise yourself you're going to do all of these things. And, after a period of time when a lot of these things don't happen, or you lose interest in them, and you see that a lot of times that your life is sort of staying the same, you kind of come to a halt, and you kind of come to like, oh, is this it? Is this all that life is? Sometimes, and that's sort of like a depression, and that's sort of like feeling that, you start to feel like, this is kind of rough, and this isn't that great. Or you get a lot of money, and you start to feel so good that you feel like, this time I'm just going to have a little bit to drink, and I'm going to control a little better. I'm maybe I'll drink, instead of this much, I'll drink this much, or I'll drink this much, but at least for me and for, people that have experiences like me, you get to a point where that, you really want to rock and roll. The truth is we love drinking or doing our drugs, and just a little bit is like an analogy I like to use. It's like a dog and meat. If you put a piece of meat in front of a dog, that dog is going to want to eat that meat, right? And no matter what type of dog it is, really, or what type of meat, that dog is gonna be interested in that meat, because that's what dogs like. And so you put a big piece of steak in front of any dog, and training that dog to say, oh, don't eat that meat, or don't eat the meat, don't eat the meat. Well, I guess like if you really pound, like you really you could somehow train that dog. I mean, you put some, but in general, that dog is gonna want that meat, and that's the same thing with me, and I'm always gonna want to drink. So the first job I had, it was extremely stressful as usual, and this one was even extra stressful. I was getting bombarded by angry people all the time, every day. Very high stress job, and it really not good for somebody who's having go through all this emotional turmoil of trying to stay away from the booze. Stay away. Not to mention that right outside was all the best bars in the city. And one challenge is, women, and, so the bars are where the women's at, and you see the great music. I love music. And so you got the music, you got the bars. As soon as you step out, plus you've had this high stress. So it was a very challenging situation. And I was there for about a year and a half doing that. And I accumulated, for me, a good amount of money, and I had plenty of money at that time to, drink again, and it's always tempting. It's always going to be tempting for you, especially after about that first initial phase of a couple months where you're feeling so great, then you feel like crap, and then you start hitting these holidays. That's another trouble. There's so many holidays around the year. The tricky thing about alcohol is that it's socially acceptable when you're feeling good, and when there's holidays, when there's birthdays, party times, and also when you're feeling bad, when you're feeling down in your luck, when you feel like, oh, I need a drink to pick my spirits up. So the time and place where you can basically drink, or that is socially acceptable, or to drink, or encouraged to drink even, tends to be all the time, or there's so many excuses to start drinking, right? And as you become more experienced, like I have, with how you interact with alcohol, you realize that these challenges are there all the time, and so things like Thanksgiving or St. Patrick's Day, or Christmas, birthdays, Labor Day weekend, all these things, these are all big drinking times. Super Bowl, you name it. Like there's all these things. Everybody amps up and goes to the bar, or amps up and goes to the the big blowout. And not to mention keggers, and you name it. So those are the up times, and then the down times are like, oh, I'm feeling down on my luck, having trouble. I'm having trouble with the lady, or I'm having trouble with the job situation, or I'm having trouble here and there, and what better to do to ease those pains and to pop back some cold ones. So basically the other part of getting sober is your relationships. Now, in general, my relationships with my family in particular, I have a large family. I'm the oldest child in a family of 7. And I really messed up. I really tore down a lot of relationships, through my actions. And I have to say, while in general things have significantly improved, there are still some challenges and difficulties that last beyond. People feel really hurt, I think, is the core, and people remember things, and people don't really trust you, and people don't, will that ever go away? I don't know the answer to that, because I still have, I still have some, work to do, and also, quite honestly, I have alcohol in my fridge. I have alcohol, alcohol's everywhere. So the presence of it is, am I going to drink again? I don't believe I will, but I may. Anybody who thinks that they've, in my opinion, anybody who really knows that you're doing what you're doing, but things change, right? Big events change, or lots of stuff changes. So you just have to always be on the alert. The reason I have alcohol, I've had it for a long time, here is for guests, right? I know initially a lot of the rehabs and stuff don't recommend you going into any of these bars, or being anywhere around alcohol. And for a first little bit of time there, I sort of like, that was sort of drilled into my head, so I did. But really, the power is not where the alcohol is, because even if it's nowhere to be seen, probably a 5-minute walk, you could be getting some alcohol, and that's just the truth of it, right? You can't keep a person, in a society away from alcohol unless it's some sort of a religious community, right? So it's been hard. This is it's still a journey. A lot of times people want to tell you fairy tale stories. Oh my goodness, this guy, he had such a difficult life, and then look at him now. He's got the big house, the big car, the big job, the beautiful lady or the beautiful man, or she. And this problem goes men and women. For men, I was thinking last night, generally what happens with the booze and the drugs is, we tend to turn to crime, right? Crime, at the low ends, because we need the money, right? And women, it tends to be, something to do with their body, and these are, our stories when we get to to these places and start sharing it. I never. It's just the reality of how people are, and basically the lower you go down the totem pole, the more desperate you get, and it's I think it might even be harder for ladies to quit drinking in a lot of ways, because with women, they have they want to look nice all the time, right? They want to present something. It can be very, very challenging, I think, psychologically for a woman to have such a challenge drinking and trying to maintain a certain image or pose. With men, there is a little bit more of a bit of a macho thing in our society. Oh, here is who I am, like me or not, no matter what. And so the pressures are different for men and women, and I think that's just something to be concerned with, or something to be conscious of. But alcohol is a real sucker for guys or girls, and I feel terrible for people who are really struggling with it. I wish I could give the the magic cue on what it is that I guess it was for me. I had lived sober, and I thought about this. I had lived sober in my life. In fact, most of my life I had lived sober, right? You look at when you're a kid, you look at when you're going to school, you look at lots of times, right? You're sober, and then you get drunk, and I was definitely good at that. Party her up and rip her up, so to speak. Have the boys over and head out to the bars and look for the ladies, and XYZ afterwards. So it's I'd done them both, right? I'd done them both, and you know, I just I wanted to be sober, right? And I wanted to do this one, right? The sober life, you know. You know, so I did. I mean, that's my magic thing. It's like, have you been sober, right? Have you been drunk? Do you know how to live sober? Do you know how to live drunk? Can you remember one day being sober? Can you remember that day or a couple days? And can you remember a few days being drunk? And, you know, who are you, right? We make these choices, right? We make these choices of how we are, and a lot of times, you know, the alcohol or the drug is so powerful and it draws you in so hard, right? It draws you in hard, and you can't do nothing about it. You can't do nothing about it, and you know, you can do something about it, right? And you can, right? And it's pain, it's withdrawal, it's a struggle, right? I used to be against AA and rehabs and all those things and all the various things people do because of whatever, you know, feelings I had, counseling, all this. I'm not, you know. Now I feel like whatever it is that works, that's a good thing, right? These guys are it's working for this person. Please, you know, encourage it. Go for that, right? That somebody likes to go to AA every day, right? And that's how they're staying sober, and that's good. That's a good one, right? Somebody needs to go to church every day, right? And or to you know, whatever, you know, mosque or religious institution or practice that they do every day. You do that, right? Counseling, they find help there. You do that, right? I even go down to, if you had a tree in your backyard, right? And every time you go out and you touch that tree, it helps you keep sober for the day. Go out and you touch that tree. It doesn't really matter, right, what it is you do, right? But you want to stay sober, right? That's the thing you want to do. That's the thing. That's the thing, right? You gotta, us people who know, and I'm starting to feel like I'm in this in the group, or you know, the group of the people who you know, go beyond it a little, get beyond it. They know, we know you're doing good, boy or lady. We know. Doesn't matter. You want to go garden, you go garden. You want to go to a farm, you go to a farm. You want to go to a monastery, you go to a monastery, right? You need to take a bike ride down to the tip of South America. You do that, all right? You know, if it's giving you life, right? If it's keeping you sober, right? If it's giving you another little bit of time, right, to figure things out and make your life good, that's what you want to do, right? So that's my basic take. Now, on the flip side, I do have to tell you this part too. So I was sitting in the exact same spot, and I was considering shooting this. You know, I was sitting in the exact same spot that when I had this sort of idea that you know, or this you know, I don't know what you want to call it, this shift that I was going to not drink anymore. And I was like, okay, I'm almost 3 years. This is just a few days ago, and you know, how much have things really gotten, you know, any better for me, right? Like, seriously, you know, I still don't have any money, right? I still don't have a lady, right? You know, I mean, in a lot of regards, I'm in the same situation, right? Like, you know, I'm in the same situation, right? 3 years later. So, see, I built up all my money, and then I spent it all, right? And, you know, so in one regard, you know, okay, so I guess on the outside you can say, well, you know, you can drink or you can not drink, and you can end up in the same position, right? Right? That's what or some people could say, right? But that's not true. I mean, really, come on. Like, I mean, you know, I'm doing great. You know, I understand myself really good, right? I've learned a ton, right? I feel like I have a lot of, I feel like I got a lot of, you know, understanding of, you know, how to do things, right? How to make something happen for yourself, right? How to, you know, If you don't know how to do a workout, or you look it up and you try to do that workout, right? If you don't know how to do this or that, you try to figure it out and you try to go do the things. You don't know how to dress good, well, you go and you take a look and you figure out who's dressing good and you dress good, right? And then you go and do these things, you follow through it in, right? You got to heal up some wounds with some people. Well, you go and you start to slowly work on these things, right? And these are things that I'm trying to do, right? I'm trying to do, right? I don't think that there is going to be a difficulty for me with a lot of different the outside peripherals, right? You gotta sort of like you gotta train to be big time, right? Before you're big time. A great saying I heard was when you're when you're a great player, the world comes to your door, right? But you got to become that great player first. You have to become that great, if it's a sports player, or if it's a artist, or whatever it is, whatever it is that you are good at, right? It comes, but you have to build that area, right? You have to, if it's sports, you got to practice in the gym, right? If it's art, you gotta go and work on it in your studio, right? If it's relationships, you gotta sort of just chip away at the things you can do that's within your power and control, right? So that's where I am now. I'm much more involved with this kind of a life, and that is fulfilling, and that makes me happy, right? And I enjoy that, right? So I can do things, right? And I understand myself so much better, and I'm happy, right? I'm happy, right? So listen, that's the thing, right? Quitting drinking is no fairy tale, right? It's not a fairy tale. So if you're drunk right now, if you're watching this drunk, right, it's going to be hard. It's going to be real hard, all right? And if you're trying to help somebody who's quitting drinking right now, it's going to be hard. It's going to be real hard, right? And the odds are terrible, right? I think I read somewhere in 1 year, 97% of people who have a drinking issue, a drinking problem, who quit drinking or swear off drinking, will be drinking again within 1 year. So that's extremely low percentage of people who can actually make it, right? But maybe that's you, right? Maybe that's you, right? And maybe that's the person that you're thinking of right now, right? You never know. And God, like, who knows? We just don't know what is what's going to happen, right? So let's encourage these things, right? So this is my this I really hope helps one person. That's all I hope it helps, right? One person out there. I hope you enjoyed this, right? I hope so please like my video below and subscribe to my channel up above. I do videos on Wednesdays, and this might be a good one to show somebody who you think is either in need, or it might help. All right, thanks so much for watching me, Jake Johnson, on Jake Showcase. Have a great and wonderful day.